Welcome to the Aha Moments radio show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide with your host, Mariana Cooper, founder of Aha Moments International and AhaMomentsWorld.com. Tune in for the next hour and learn to trust your aha moments to lead the way to live a passionate and purposeful life. And now here's your host, Mari.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aha Moments radio show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide. I'm Mari, and happy Tuesday. We are back. I had to take a few weeks off. I apologize. I just hit my wall. We're in the tail end of finishing up the book with the publisher, and today, just a few hours ago, it went to press. So that's it. No more editing, no more rewrite, nothing other than promoting and talking about it, interviewing about it, and doing signings when it comes out. And so the big day that it will hit stores worldwide is on January 16th. And so I'm excited about that. Everybody's like, aren't you excited and tingly? Somebody said on Facebook, aren't you tingly all the time? I'm like, maybe like bleary-eyed and numb. But I guess the tingly thing will happen when I thaw out from the numbness of just all the work. Because my publisher is in Europe, so I had to, I was on the phone with them at like 2 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the morning because they're 12 hours apart from, California time. So it's really a very, very big thing to push a book out, especially with a publisher who I'm lucky to have. Brilliant publisher. I mean, they're phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of work for all of us. It's a huge team, and so that was an interesting process, and some fun, some not fun contribution to the world, and something that'll live hopefully way beyond my lifetime, and I'm excited that that's going out. So that was a big piece of it. I also moved. I'm still in La Jolla, but I also moved in the middle of all of that. So I apologize for not being on the air. It just finally like all the dominoes started to fall, and so we took some time off. But we are back now. It's all about all of you, and we have lots going on today. I know that one of the big things that I did manage to do was get a survey out to our global community, and if you're not a part of our Aha Moments World Global Community, I invite you to become a part of that. You can still go to our, old website at AhaMomentsWorld.com. In a couple of weeks, we will have a new website up. Actually, I shouldn't say a couple of weeks. We're working. It's a totally different type of site, much bigger. So we're working on that now. So we're going to have a transition where our entire platform is shifting to a whole new direction as we get closer to the end of the year and into the new year with the new book. So you're going to see a lot of really fun changes. But we did get a survey out to all of you. So many of you have participated in, making these changes come about, and I thank you. And I really, really am. It helps me so much when you're interactive with me, when you're talking to me, letting me know how you feel. Thank you for the ones of you who wrote me emails or were talking to me during coaching sessions or reading and saying, where's the show? I missed the show. I love the show. I'm waiting for you to bring the show back. Because, when you're working on the Internet, a lot of times you're just in your house. I got the cats. and if I don't hear from you, I don't really know what's happening. It's not like if you were in a hotel room, and there's 17 there's thousands of you in the hotel room, and you're looking from a stage. You can see people's reactions and whether they're running out the door or whether they're giving you a standing ovation. You can see reactions, right? It really helps me if you let me know what you like and what you don't like. Sometimes that happens too. So anyway, we did this big survey. I had hundreds and hundreds of you reply, and that just helped me get so much insight. And 3 topics that came up that were like that had the highest rankings for you were learning to trust your intuition, self-love, and understanding more about self-love, and energy healing. So the first two we're going to tackle. We're going to put energy healing on the back burner for a little bit just because that's not my area of expertise, but I'm putting together a team of experts on that, who are really off the charts on that. So we're going to do that probably towards the beginning of the year. But the first two are really, really important because the self-healing and the energy healing are very reliant on your ability to be fluent in your intuition and to have a very strong sense of love for yourself. So the intuition part is covered in the book. The book is called The Aha Factor, How to Use Your Intuition to Get What You Desire and Deserve. And it's 45 pages of how to do that. So we will be doing a whole training course in that. We have online, a huge self-paced study course, and we'll have some mastermind groups and retreats and all kinds of stuff. So all that's going to be handled. But as I looked at the content for how to trust your intuition and all of that, and I sifted through, I realized that when I really look at what keeps you from actually being able to trust your intuition, it's not like it's a new topic. And when I really drilled down, it all came, and I talked to the guides about it too, I actually channeled about it. It all comes down, your ability to be intuitive, to have that reliable voice is 100% related to how high your level of self-love is. And I'll tell you why. Self-love is based on your willingness to hear and participate with your own personal inner voice. I call it the inner voice of kindness. And we'll get into the different voices that are part of the, quote, self-love package of voices, because we have lots of voices in our head. But that inner voice, that's you, that is in alignment with your physical world. I'm not talking about, talking to energies or channeling or telepathy or anything like that. I'm just talking about you speaking to you in your physical body, in your physical waking world. Okay? That inner voice, if you can't hear it, or if it's been hijacked by the voice of someone else, your inner critic, the harsh parent, the judgment person, or all these different things. If it's been hijacked and that's all you're hearing, you can't interact with you. You can't hear your own requests. You can't honor your own requests, and your intuition gets lost in the shuffle because your intuition is yet another voice. Right? So if you're dishonoring of your own voice, trusting the intuition is going to come really hard, especially if you're marching to the voice of your inner judger, your inner critic, and all those things. Okay? So as I was thinking about, what do we do in the meantime? Because the book comes out in January. We're going to be talking about all of that first quarter next year, to the high heavens. What do we do in September? In October, November, December. What do we do in the fall? And I heard over and over again, we want you to cover self-love. Because if we can, as a community, make a commitment to dive into this topic, it's the precursor. It's kind of the, prerequisite for the success that we're really wanting to see, as we get into more of the intuitive work. Also, the self-love aspect to your money. I know we did a couple of big money shows. Those were the biggest shows, I think, short of maybe some of the stuff I did with Dane. Those are the biggest shows we've had. Actually, I think some of the numbers were even higher than our numbers with Dane. And that was really astounding to me because you guys are really, really, really frustrated with manifesting, and especially the money aspect. Well, I thought about doing a money course right now, and I said, the guy said no, because that's still going to drill down to self-love and intuition. And once we have those two things under our belts, then we'll roll in the money course. And money will start to show up, by the way, as you do these first two layers. Okay, because these two things are very connected. Money is just about energy flow. And so when you're not loving yourself, you're not listening to yourself, and I know said you're not even liking yourself sometimes, even if you are, but you have some aspects of you that are off, out of balance. I've had some people say, oh, Mari, I love myself. I go to the spa. I take care of myself. I eat well. I speak up for myself, but I don't have any money. I just need money. There's something in there that's disconnected. There's a spark plug that's out of place. So it doesn't mean that you dump the whole category and think, oh, I'm good, check. Self-love is an ongoing project, and that's why actually this whole program that we're starting to talk about tonight is called the Self-Love Project. I think I'm going to call it the AHA Self-Love Project, because there's going to be a lot of AHA moments as we go through this work over the coming weeks, So anyway, I just want to get to some announcements, and then I want to start this conversation. I'm inviting you to participate in this conversation. You're going to be able to call in 347-215-9485, 347-215-9485. We will do, we'll add in some readings in there too, but I would really like to know your take on the topic, and one of the things that's been happening, and let me just do the quick announcements and then I'll get back to self-love as far as the topic in our teaching for tonight. But we are beefing up all of our social media. So I have a new page, a public figure page. Whoa, this is a little daunting writing that. But I've outgrown my friend page, and if you guys are my friend page, I'm like constantly yapping on Facebook. And it's not because of business. It's because I love it. I'm a talker. I love to, talk and chat with people, and I love putting up inspirational things and hopefully help people's day go along a little bit better. Every so often I get sucked into a little bit of a political thing. Every so often, but for the most part, I've been minding my P's and Q's and leave that stuff out. And so our new page, I sent it out to you guys in the email, but it was wrong. Gave you the wrong link. It's going to a totally different Mariana. Our new page is Facebook.com/Mariana Cooper Show. Okay, so believe it or not, there was other Mariana Coopers and whatever, who knows. Mariana Cooper, COOPERSHOW, Mariana Cooper Show. So I ask you to please go there and like that and check back on that page often, because Facebook is kind of funky with those pages. Unless you are literally paying to boost posts and to get it out to the entire community that you have liked on the page, you don't get them in your news feed necessarily. So check the page often. I know my favorite pages that I like, I go in every day and just go to the page myself, because I know that a lot of times their stuff isn't going to come up in my feed unless they're paying a fortune to boost all the posts. But get more as we build the community, that changes a little bit. The more people you have, the more stuff gets out into the news feed. But I'm just giving you that warning. So if you don't see us, make sure you put us in your favorites and all that kind of stuff. And then we also now have an Instagram account. So that's fun for me, because I love pictures and everything. And you can see pictures of my cats, and of course, you have to have the cat pictures and the food, pictures and the flowers and the sunsets and all the who knows what. But I'm going to figure that all out. But I'm on Instagram, and it's also Mariana M. Cooper. So Mariana, middle initial M, Cooper. Okay, and then we are also on Pinterest and Twitter. Twitter is the only one that's going to remain at AHA Moments. Everything else is my name. And I actually am switching to my full name for the book and everything, because one of the things Doreen Virtue had told me way back 12 years ago when I studied with her, when I was with her, she said, you really shouldn't call yourself Mari. You really should call yourself your whole name, because that's your power center. It's your whole, it's like when you truncate your name like that, you actually cut your power in half. And so she refused to call me Mari. But I just, I was kind of rebellious, and Mari was just easier for people to pronounce, and I was tired of people butchering my name. But as I kind of go into this new stage and this new phase, we decided to go with my full name. So you're going to see a lot more of that. And if you see most interviews and stuff, they'll be calling me Mariana. And you guys can still call me Mari if you like, but that's, when you see it on the new websites and everything, that's who I am. So, and that's the story behind that. Okay, so I'm just looking at my notes here. Oh, two other things, and then we're going to get on to our content and then to some readings. We have angel readings. I'm doing a 15-15-15 sale. I had 15 readings, 15% off in 2015. And these are the last, like, angel readings. I might do some more Akashic readings, but we're going to just kind of, as we get depth now into the whole PR phase of this, my time is getting a little bit less. So if you'd like one of those readings, you can go to ahamomentsworld.com/by the sea, okay? And that's SEA, by the sea. And you can grab one of those last spots. I think we have about 4 spots left. And lastly, we have a 3-part free video training on the Self-Love Project. Launching. That's going to probably be up we're going to put an early bird registration up this week, so you'll get like an early notification when the videos are online. So we'll have that page up towards the end of this week, and I will send you an email. If you're on our list, you'll get it to sign up to be notified when that free training course is available. So it'll be 3, full-length classes, but they're all going to be videos. So Sam and I have a lot of producing. We have I can't tell you how many videos. We're also, by the way, going to have a YouTube channel starting too. So you see how crazy? I can't even get through the beginning of the show with all the stuff that's going on. Okay, so that's the whole to-do list. This is just stuff for you to look forward to. And now let's talk self-love. So there's a ton of questions that came up. I did a mini survey just specifically about self-love once I knew we were going to go in this topic. I mean, just because the angels tell me it's the right thing to do doesn't mean that I'm not going to consult with you just to see if they were on the right track. And we got so many responses. I was like, wow. I mean, I can't even tell you. So, and everybody, it was interesting because when we talk about money or we talk about relationships or we talk about even, the intuitive stuff or, the woo-woo stuff that we talk about, people are generally kind of going down the same direction, They kind of, there's a few facets to it, but it's not all over the place. When we talk about self-love, it was like, there was just nothing, it was just everywhere. Everybody was everywhere. I don't know what it is. I know what it is, and I'm good. I don't need any more self-love. I'm really good in that area. I hate myself, and I don't know how anybody would ever love me this way. What is it? Is it like just going to the spa? Is it the I am that I am? Is it divine love? I don't even care about physical self-love. I don't care about my physical world. I just want to hear about, I am energy. I was amazed at how all over it was. So when you're looking at that from how do we get our arms around this in some sort of system, right, so that it's teachable, that it's duplicable, I said, okay, well, I called in the guys and said, what do you want to do with this? So I think, it's a good topic because nobody's on the same day. Everybody's kind of all over the place. And he said, okay, well, let's just start at the beginning. Okay, and you're going to find if you listen to some of these shows and then you participate in our free online course, you're going to start to see which car of the train you're getting on. Because there's certain people who are going to be on all the way from the engine, there's others who are going to be on at the caboose. But you're going to get on whatever part of the train you need to get on. But you need to be on the train because this influences everything. I was on, I made a rare appearance this weekend on I do this call line on psychicdirectory.com, and people can just spontaneously call in for readings. They don't have to do the whole waiting list and stuff. And one of the girls was talking to me about a boyfriend, I get a lot of boyfriend calls. And she was saying, well, I don't think about him, she says, I think about him all the time. I can't stop talking about him to my friends and analyzing this and that. But I haven't connected with him. And he, but he's not connecting back with me. And I know that if I just stay away, he'll, it's kind of like if you set him free, he'll come back. And I'm like, the only way he's going to come back is if you stop all of the overinvestment in analyzing him, and you step back into listening to your own voice, being with you. And, because we have a telepathic connection. And as we were, she said, what? What do you mean? And I said, well, we have these different layers of energetic communication abilities. One is intuitive, which is without talking to our higher self, and the other is telepathy, which is speaking to other people energetically, so anybody in a body. And then there's channeling, this is speaking energetically with somebody who's not in a body, an angel, a guide, this type of thing. And so the telepathy is huge. It's huge. Now, if you want to master things like being able to communicate to your husband when he's on his way home saying, I really, really, really want a Frappuccino, can you pick it up? And I'm sure you've done this kind of thing where, you think of someone and they call you, or you think of someone and your husband walks through the door with the Frappuccino. That's because you literally did have a mental conversation, and an energetic conversation with them. That's real. But if you don't know your own voice, how can you harness the power of that? It's not that you're not doing it, because it's kind of a natural function like blinking your eyes. But how do you harness the power of these energetic capacities that you have if you're not connected to your own inner voice? Or even if you are connected to your voice, but you're doubting it, or you're not believing it because your inner critic is much louder, or your inner judger, or, society's voice, or the voice of the husband, or whatever is louder than your own voice because you don't let that voice come up. Okay? So, when I explained this to her, she was like blown away. And she said, you know what, I realized how many hours you spend analyzing him and his behavior and his lack of behavior versus listening to you and, doing what makes your heart sing, or moving forward on personal projects, or, self-care or whatever. And she said, oh, my gosh, you know what? I give him so much energy. And that's what people feel. I'm sure you've felt it, where maybe you've had an argument with a friend, or somebody is obsessing on you, and you just feel like every time you think of that person's name, or you're like, why can't I get this person out of my head? Oh, my gosh. You just think of them and you just feel heavy and exhausted. And then when that person cuts the cord and isn't thinking about you anymore and kind of just drops it, you can feel it. It's palpable. The energy is palpable, right? And a lot of times we try to drudge up those kinds of connections because it keeps us from hearing our own inner voice. So the best analogy that I can give you, the first thing with self-love is it is multifaceted, okay? So there's self-love breaks down into, honoring yourself and self-care, but there's all different self-this and self-that. But there's 4 core categories, okay? So there's physical self-love, which is, what we hear a lot about, go to the spa, take care of yourself, eat well, all that. There's mental self-love. That's like stress management and, keeping yourself organized in that way. There's emotional self-love, and there's energetic self-love. Okay, so there's 4 core categories of self-love. And each one of those are 4 legs of a table. Each one of those are a leg of a table. You need all 4 to kind of be in some sort of sync in order to hold the table up. And when you're only focused on your physical world, how you look, and you're you're eating your almonds and drinking your fresh juices and whatever you're doing, and taking your supplements, that's great. That's great. You're good. You got a really strong leg there. But are you equally as strong and as focused in your mental self-love, meaning that you kind of organize your world so you take care of those organizational things like, balancing your checkbook and all those institutive things, taking care of your bills and all that stuff that can pile up and just cause confusion. Sticking up for yourself in relationships is more of an emotional self-love. Do you have emotional boundaries? Do you know how to manage your anger? Do you know how to manage depression? Do you know how to identify it, that you feel this way, or do you just have numb? Which means that you've kind of collapsed your ability to identify what you're actually feeling, which is a lack of emotional self-love, focus on that. And then there's energetic self-love. So that's like what we were just talking about with understanding energy, understanding how we communicate energetically, understanding how to put up your own energetic boundaries so that you're not being kind of energy vampired and all that type of thing. Now, when you have all four of those in some semblance of sync, I'm not saying they have to be perfect. That's why we call it the self-love project. It's a dynamic process. We're not talking perfection here, okay? But when you have these in balance, then what happens is you get flow. Okay, your energy flows because now you're not being completely derailed. And you learn how to maintain each one of these areas. Each one of these areas is kind of, like your cable bill or your phone bill. It has to be paid every month. You have to pay attention to it every month. It's not like, okay, yeah, Mari, I worked on self-love and I'm good. So, yeah, I'm good. It's a maintenance thing. So there are levels of it. You can get, infinite amount of work you can do in this area or focus you can do in this area and keep elevating and elevating and elevating and elevating. And that's when people start talking to you about the I am energy and all of the, that real high-level divine energy that you ultimately get to. And if you listen to, like, Wayne Dyer, God rest his soul, he talks a lot about, he was at such a trajectory of his own self-love and self-worth that he was able to sort of transcend all of the physicality and just really be in the energy of oneness with that big God energy and really sort of have a very clear experience of light and being light and all of that kind of stuff. So that's more of the advanced stuff. We're not going to get into that for today. But I just want to give you kind of the span of this, and that's why when we're getting from our surveys, we're getting people all over the road because it is a dynamic process and everybody's at a different stage, okay? So we have our four categories, so I want you to start thinking about that, to start playing with that. Emotional, where am I strongest at? Physical, emotional, energetic, and mental self-love. And where am I not so strong? Where am I kind of falling down? Because you know what? It's just like you put a whole turkey dinner. I've been very obsessed with Thanksgiving because I haven't been home to New Jersey in almost a year and a half. And then I'm like, I've been telling my family, start cooking now because I'm coming. So you're going to hear this Thanksgiving analogy. But if you have a spread of food on a table and, some of the legs are loose, you're going to lose your china and your crystal and your turkey with your stuffing and whatever else. And so you want to make sure that you are kind of creating balance. Sometimes you're going to prop some things up because something else is getting more attention. That's okay. We're not trying to get to a perfect level of self-love or check, I'm good, You will be able to know if the whole thing is working by the way your life is flowing. Is your money flowing? Is your in abundance? Are your relationships in a pretty good place? Are you able to express yourself when you need to in a way that you feel good about? Are you able to speak your voice? If you can't, I can tell you, if you can't speak your voice within you, it's really hard to communicate to other people in a way that's going to be receptive to them. And if you find that every time you communicate, people are shutting down on you, cursing you out, having big reactions to you, giving you the silent treatment, turning on you and all that, there's something internally that's going on that's creating a churn. The first major act that you can do, because I know you guys like to, say to me, well, how do I do this? I'm just telling you. The first major thing you can do is to stop and listen to yourself. And what are you listening for? Well, there's a voice. You hear me talk about the intuitive voice. This is not what I'm talking about in this call. Okay, that's down the road a little bit. There's a voice, and I call it, as I was channeling about this, they said, what you're looking for, Mari, is your inner voice of kindness. Your inner voice, the voice that came in with your physical body to express you within. Okay? Before we get into the advanced part about talking to your energetic self with your intuitive voice and all these other things, you're talking about your inner voice. is the inner voice of kindness. Okay, and then we have your inner voice of wisdom. Okay, and that inner voice of wisdom is almost like a scribe. It records what's been going on for you, and it lets you remember. It reminds you, hey, you know what, we just heard that call on self-love, and right here is where, you might want to apply something you just heard. That inner voice of wisdom. Okay, so we're talking about the inner voice of kindness, and you can think of that as the feminine, and the inner voice of wisdom, you can think of that as the masculine. Let's just keep it really simple. That's the voice you're looking for. Now, that voice is very likely buried under a whole lot of other voices, okay? And here's what happens. Your inner voice of kindness and your inner voice of wisdom actually comes in as a baby. You're born, and they are full on, completely what's going on. And you might not be because you don't have language, right? So you come in with two things. Your inner voice of kindness, which is saying, it's giving you your needs. It's saying, okay, I need to, these humans, these big people around me need to do what I need. They need to, take care of me and take care of my diaper. If I'm hungry, I got to express myself. And so those two voices kind of say, okay, well, if you smile and coo, she's going to hug you and kiss you, and you need affection. If you if you cry like a banshee, she's going to take you up and put a bottle in your mouth, or breastfeed you, or change a diaper, right? So you're going to start to communicate, and that inner voice of wisdom is helping you to keep track of what gets what reaction. Okay, the inner voice of kindness is saying, "Hey, I'm worth it. I deserve it." There's no part of that little kid that's saying, "I really need a hug, but I don't know if I'm worthy. Maybe I'm too fat and he can't get his arms around me, so, maybe I shouldn't ask for a hug." That baby's like, "Hug me now, because I'm cute and I deserve it and I want a hug. So hug me, okay? I'm gonna coo and make cute faces and look like you, so that you want to hug me, all day long." Excuse me. So until that baby has some semblance of language, there's also no expectation from his parents, right? It's just like they dress you up, oh, look at daddy's little baseball player. Oh, look at mommy's little ballerina and princess and all these things. But they're kind of going with the flow with your inner voice of kindness and your inner voice of wisdom, right? You're recording what's getting them to behave the way you need them to behave, and they're acquiescing to that, right? And we're all good. We're all good. People are snapping little selfies, and we're all doing, putting it on Facebook and on, YouTube, and everything's we're all good. But the minute you say mama, dada, the game starts to change, because now the parenting starts in that it starts with the overlay of what your values should be, of how you should communicate. First it's like, oh, just say it again. You say dada first, and mommy gets, how could she say dada first? But I'm spending all day changing her diaper, and she's saying dada first. How do you do this? How do you say, you say, mama, and your parents are starting to try to program you to say what's right for what they want to hear. Nobody's being malicious about it. It's natural human beingness, and it's appropriate. It's parenting, right? But what happens is, for the next 18 years, your parents start to influence. They're protecting you. They're teaching you the ropes. They're teaching you their values. They're teaching you, whether you should like this race or that race, what political party, what you want to eat, what's respectful, what's not respectful, how to be, how to keep yourself safe, how to get smarter, all these different things. Whether do we value education, maybe we value art, whatever it is, but you're getting the downloads from your parents. They're overtaking now the inner voice of kindness and the inner voice of wisdom, and they're saying, this is what kindness is, honey. Go hug Aunt Sally. You hate Aunt Sally. You don't want to hug Aunt Sally. Hug her. She's your elf. Give her a hug. Now give her a kiss on the cheek. You're like, she's icky. Your inner voice of knowing and saying, those ladies, I don't know. But mommy says I have to hug her and kiss her, so I have to listen to mommy, because now we're listening to the inner voice, to the outside voice of authority. And that takes over for 18, 20 years. Actually, it kind of influences you forever, right? But at some point, just like we had a changing of the guard of who we're going to listen to from infancy to parenting, also have a changing of the guard when we go from adult, well, from teenage and young adult into full-on adult taking care of ourselves. What that in the psychological terms, in the mental health world, I have a psychology degree and I was in the whole mental health world before I started my business world. What we call that in the mental health world is separation individuation, where we separate from the voice, the overarching parental voices, and we reconnect with our inner voice, and now we individuate from our parents. It's rare that it goes smoothly because if it's in a healthy situation, you start to do that in your teenage years, you know, and that's when your parents really panic because now if you make a mistake, they're bigger mistakes and, you know, you get pregnant, all these things. But as you go into young adulthood, as you go into adulthood, you're separating out, right? This is why that whole, the parent letting go of you when you go away to college is such a big deal, right? Because they're really kind of giving you your reins back. And if that it is in any way obstructed, in most cases it is in some way, the voice of the parent still stays very loud in your head. And nobody's really teaching you how to nurture your own inner voice. They're just saying, do the right thing. So you go more into a judgment thing, and you're judging up against what my parents would have said versus what is my internal voice. So a lot of us don't get to this point of finding this inner voice until we hit the midlife crisis when we have some sort of loss. Whether we lose a job, we lose a significant other, sometimes, you know, we lose a child, but there's a loss, right? We have a health challenge, so we lose some of our physical freedoms, you know, but there's always that sort of inciting incident that drives you back within, okay? People have cancer scares or they go broke or something, you know, something that you fall from grace. And that drives you back into that inner voice. Actually, it's nature's way of creating balance for you again so that you kind of, they're hoping that, you know, you'll that voice will come up, start to communicate with it again and start to lead with it. Okay, so you don't have to create tragedy in your life to find this inner voice. That's one of the reasons why I want to do this program and why we are going to, you know, kind of have this be our precursor focus to the AHA Factor when it comes out in January. Because if we can get you kind of really sort of, you know, polished up with this, because I don't want to make the assumption that everybody, you know, many people who don't already know this, but if we can just, you know, get you guys to in the zone and polished up, when we start talking about really the mechanics of intuition and being able to trust it and really being able to discern it, and being able to lean into it and really let it participate in your decision-making process, in your creative processes, in your love, in your relationships, in your willingness and ability to receive money, to make money, to come up with ideas for more money and all that kind of stuff. We want all that good stuff to happen. We really need to get you back in the saddle 100%, okay, to get your inner voice being that primary voice, that inner voice of kindness, holding hands with that inner voice of wisdom. That's your yin and your yang. And when you do that, I'm telling you, all the rest of it starts to flow. The weight starts to drop off because you start to say, you know, today you're really tired. You're just tired. So forcing yourself to go on that elliptical machine is probably not the best idea. Maybe today is the day you go for the massage. On the other hand, that same inner voice of kindness might say, you know, I know you really want this result, and it would really be good for you to go on that elliptical machine, even though you're a little tired. You see, that inner voice of kindness can be saying both things. But when you're living only from your inner critic or the crazy personal trainer who's, you know, voice in your head or whatever, that's saying, no pain, no gain. You should be in pain in order to get a reward. Who's that? Who's that? You should go against what your body is naturally saying. Who's that? But then how do you trust what your body is saying? You know, how do you trust what your inner voice of kindness is? You don't even know what that is. Oh, you might mistake the inner voice of kindness as being weak, right? I know for me, I had a conversation with Sam the other day, and I said, I can't tell you how overwhelmed I am. I in my entire career, I've never had this much work. And I did the Olympics, I've done all kinds of things. I've never had this much work, especially this much work that's relying on me. And it's all my face on everything and my name and, oh, God, it's not like for a big corporation where you're kind of hiding behind it all goes down on them, on Wall Street, not on you. This is like really a big deal. And I finally said to him, you know what? I know we thought we were going to get this website out like this week. That was my original plan. And I said to him, maybe we should just do a big overhaul launch in January. And I felt so light. And that was my inner voice of kind of saying, well, why do you need to just, flog yourself through this? This is about joy. This is about expansion. This is about expansion for everybody. So what standard are you holding yourself up to? Like, who says that has to be the standard, that everything has to happen perfectly? And it doesn't. It doesn't. And that was the inner voice of kind of saying, let's give you some breathing room here. Let's prioritize. And it's funny because that next day, which was today, that we have the book releases and the book goes off to the press and my move is finished and there's some big, huge things off the table. So I could come back and do the radio show in a sense of peace instead of like trying to scramble just because it's an expectation of me, right? So that's self-love. That's self-love in action. Okay? And what's going to be more attractive abundance-wise? Flogging yourself at all costs? Or saying, you know what, I'm going to present when I'm feeling 100% because then there's more of me to give, right? So let me just look at two more points. I'm looking at the time. I want to get to some of your calls. Okay, one more thing, and then two more things, two quick things. When you're thinking about this, so you'll listen to the podcast and, and thank all of you. Oh, my gosh, I can't even believe how many of you listened to this show when we were not on the air. Sam, I didn't even tell you that. I was looking at the numbers. I was like, oh, my God. It was like we were still having a show. Unbelievable. So thank you so much for that. That was astounding. But what I want you to focus on, to give you a to-do, so you can try this in your own world, is I want you to start to think about treating yourself the way you treat some. Like, think of the person that you love the most, whether it's boyfriend, husband, child, your pet, whatever it is, person or a being, let's say. And I want you to ask yourself, do I treat myself as well as I treat them? Do I keep my promises to myself the way that I keep my promises to them? Do I honor my own bodily functions like sleep and eating and all that the way I value for them? And I want you to start to just ask yourself those questions. You can take action on it. We'll get into this, more through the coming weeks. You don't have to do it all at once. But I want you to start noticing. Noticing. Okay? I have a new coaching program I was working on, private. I didn't even mention this on the show before, but we have this 10-week private mentoring program. I have some gals who are in the program right now, and it's 10 weeks, and we one-on-one, and we work for an hour each week, and they can, email me in between and stuff. And it's very, for my advanced folks. And that's what we've been talking about. Those first couple of sessions is noticing. Just noticing is honoring yourself. You're taking notice. It's like they see the wallflower in the room. You're like, oh my gosh, she looks familiar. Oh, hey, wait a second, that's me. Right? Noticing. That's what I want you to do this week. All right, so I'm going to stop there. Treating yourself the way, finding your voice, noticing, treating yourself the way that you treat the person or being that you love the most, and start comparing how you treat them versus how you treat yourself. And the last thing I'll say is keeping your promises to yourself. This was huge for me. This is a huge turning point when I was going through this work on my own before even remotely thinking of teaching anything of the sort. One of the ways that I started to really turn my own life around is I started to keep promises to myself. If I said I was going to go for a walk that day, it might be 11 o'clock and I was going out for that walk, because I said if I don't start really making a habit of keeping my promises to myself, then I don't trust myself. And self-trust is a real big component of self-love. And as I did that, now I know I keep my promises to myself pretty much I would say a good 90% of the time. Sometimes, life happens, or you get a little down or whatever, and that's, again, you don't have to be perfect for this stuff to work. But very, very important, keep your promises to yourself. Okay, now normally I would say we're going to take a quick break. However, Blog Talk, obliterated our commercials. So we don't have to track in the system. Sam and I noticed that as we were going on the air. So we are going to go to some calls now. So if you'd like to call in, the number to call in is 347-215-9485. 347-215-9485. If you've been waiting on the line, I thank you. I see some of you have been waiting for a long time. Just listen up, come back from the kitchen or, doing whatever, mute your life so we can hear you on the air, and we're going to go ahead and pick up the phone and take your call. Okay, so our first caller is Rose in New Jersey. Hi, Rose.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, you're so welcome. What's your question?
I wanted to know what you see for me with regards to work. I'm currently unemployed and looking for work, so do you see any possibilities?
What field are you in? Are you in the field of, helping people? I don't know why I was just hearing, mental health or something. What do you do?
No, I'm an executive assistant.
Oh, no, that's mental health. I mean, you're keeping them completely on point. That makes sense that you're helping people. It feels like, I'm not sure what platform you're looking for a job on, but it feels like there's a platform that's just for that particular profession. There's Monster Board and, other things that you can sort of apply for. But I want you to do a search because there's a job on a particular platform that would be more like a hiring agency for executive assistants, that type of thing, that has a more specialized version of what you do that's going to give you a lot more money than what you're currently looking at. It feels like they're saying by October 15th, somewhere between that and November 1st, you'll really land where you're actually walking through the door starting work. But the holdup is that you're not thinking big enough with it. So they're saying get a little bit more specialized and stop trying to sort of spread yourself thin across, because what's happening is you're diffusing your energy because you're not really excited about it. And that excitement is really what's going to draw that energy for you to get the right job. So yes, it feels close, but the only, sort of hiccup is that you're not thinking in a more, to start thinking in a more powerful way about it.
Okay.
So hopefully that helps, and thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Okay, so next we have Mindy in Los Angeles. Hi, Mindy.
Hello there. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for calling in. What's your question?
First of all, I love the topic. Thank you so much for addressing it. It's all about that self-love. And when I heard you mentioning Wayne Dyer, I thought, okay, I'm going to call in. So thank you for that and directing people there. My question is, I have a possible opportunity in job in Los Angeles, and another one where it's in Northern California.
Right.
So, and I have a business overseas. So,
oh wow!
Because I don't have the operating capital yet, I just launched that business. I'm working towards it, and I still have to find that paycheck. But the one in California, the Southern California, may help me in a really big way. So,
well, I'm going to stop you here because, I
Thank you.
heard loud and clear as you were saying, L.A., L.A., L.A. That's what came loud, it was like flashing like the Hollywood sign, L.A., 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 L.A. And so I'm getting the goosebumps all over. I don't know what it is you're doing, but you are about to you do really, really well. Really, 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 really well. Like my scalp, I'm getting goosebumps even on my hairline. Oh my God, that's rare that happens. I would now. It's funny because Wayne's energy is around you. I don't know if you studied him But I know he has been coming to me, and I know everybody on the call is going to think I'm nuts, but I'm not. He has been, I hear his voice so loud in my, go to this track on my, CD, everywhere I turn, it's easy to kind of have him around now because everybody, Reed Tracy is like promoting him every which way from Sunday because of his passing and everything. But he is a really strong guide for you, and his work isn't finished. So he's like, one of the things he asked me to do is to just let people know that if you're feeling him, he's there. And when they cross over, they are they're holographic. That's the word. So they can be many places all at the same time. So you can lean into his energy, lean into his work, and be a bit of a purist with it. Don't necessarily jump from his work to that one, to that one, to that one. Like, pick a system and work through the system. But you are, LA for you, not for so much for a lot of people, but for you, LA is a real, it's the land of ambition and hustle. That's what it is.
Sure.
And that's that yang energy, It feels like you might need a respite place.
Yes.
It feels like they're saying something like Malibu or even La Jolla, like, 2 hour, something on maybe even San Diego, someplace where you can pull out of that energy because you're sensitive and it could eat you alive kind of thing if you're in too much of it. But for what you're doing, it's really important that you're there.
It is.
Does that make sense?
And in 110%, 150%, I don't even know what the word is, more than 100%.
Good.
But this opportunity, just came this morning, and I listened to Wayne Dyer on manifesting. And it just came this morning, and it would take my company that's over in England to a really another big level.
Yeah.
This company in Los Angeles, that is.
Yeah. No, there's no question. It's a great. My publishers are in England, and that whole California Inland connection has been really a strong one for me. So I can completely relate to that. What I want to say to you though is, and this is something I personally was actually talking to a friend right before I got on the air. When you're, and this is for my advanced folks, my advanced entrepreneurs, my advanced light workers, and then everybody else but this is really important because a lot of times we're so focused on beginner stuff that we don't get to this kind of thing. You're at an interesting crossroads where you might feel some subtle fears coming up that you're not used to because of the level. Because that up-leveling sounds very glamorous, right? LA, England, expansion, bigger than you've ever imagined. And if there's any slowing, and Wayne is saying this very strongly. He's like, this is why this was coming up for you before the show. He does this to me all the time. My guy all the time. I always meet somebody who's going to, be going through the same thing. As you are prepping for that big expansion, it's really important to be in that self-love space of nurturing yourself. Because remember, it's like taking your inner child from kindergarten to first grade or from middle school to high school. It's that first day of school in a big new place. And being a senior in the, when you're the senior and you're the valedictorian and you're the homecoming queen, it's awesome. But then all of a sudden, you're nobody in freshman in college. You're like, oh, my God. And here you are, at Harvard, and there's 1,000 people in your class. And so
that's awesome.
If you're
I understand
feeling
exactly what you're saying.
Any slowing or any doubting, he wants you to be nurturing of the child within you that's saying, I'm kind of scared of going to that bigger school. Include in your self-care a process that matches the level. So, for instance, if it was a smaller kind of a opportunity, it might be you go for a frappuccino and a day at Barnes & Noble to sort of vet, Okay? I just read magazines. Like, that's how, like, I zone out.
Yeah.
But that's
cool.
what I used to do. That's what I used to do.
Me too.
Then, as I up-leveled, it was move yourself to La Jolla and walk a world-class beach every day. You know, like, it just moved.
Sure.
It moved up. I haven't been to Barnes & Noble. I think I've been to Barnes & Noble since I've been in California in the last 16 months. I've been to Barnes & Noble's twice. But I wrote the entire book. I was in there every single day when I was back in New Jersey because that was my care of the time, and it was matching where I was there. But when you're looking at being, projected out into society, now instead of you having 200 people show up for something, you got 30,000 people showing up for something, your energy needs a different level of nurturing.
It's so interesting. Okay? I understand exactly what you're saying.
So I want you to give yourself permission that where last year's self-care might have been perhaps at Barnes & Noble's, this year's self-care might be go on a creativity walk in Paris. You don't know. I'm not saying it has to be money or anything. I'm just trying to give you a very concrete example.
No.
It could be something very simple.
The best things in life
are
free. Yeah.
Yeah, you might be just going and meditating. But I just want you to honor that and not think that some of the things that you might be craving are extravagant. They are matching the up-leveling.
Okay.
So
that's really
I know
wonderful.
This might sound a little complex.
No, I got it.
I'm just getting it very strongly for you. And I hope that's
beautiful. It's beautiful, and thank you for bringing in Wayne Dyer's energy. It's a beautiful thing. I thank you so very much.
Yeah, I honor him and I honor you. Thank you. Thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it. Call back in and let us know how things go. Okay, so we have about 3 minutes, and we are going to take, Jody in Portland. Hi, Jody.
Oh, hi. I was wondering, how to have self-love when you're not very nice. If I'm not very nice or impatient, envious, just resentful. And Wayne Dyer used to irritate me, and I feel bad because, everyone loves him, and I want to be respectful to, that loss that they're feeling.
I love you. Oh, my God, that is so awesome. That is awesome. You know what's so awesome about you is you're so honest. You're so honest, and you're living life. You're living it. You're in the trenches, and you're living it. And trust me when I tell you, don't let any spiritual leader ever tell you that they're 100% benevolent 100% of the time. I think that a lot of times, I always say, I have a motto: don't judge a person's life by their Facebook page. Because on all those cat videos and pictures of guacamole, there's all kinds of murders going on, I mean, it's not all sunshine, lollipops, and roses. So good for you, because that's very, kind of clear in your field. Now, when you feel that strongly that you can call up on a public radio show and say that, it's do we need to deify Wayne Dyer? He got on my nerve. I think that's awesome. I think I could feel him laughing too, that. It's doubled over. Because there's a certain reality that life happens. Now, the question I have for you that I want you don't have to answer it now, but I want you to contemplate over the next week is who does that all belong to? That envy and, aggravation with happy, joy, and all of that. Who does that really belong to? Is that really Jody? Or is that one of those other voices we were talking about who's kind of hijacked Joe? Now, I'm not saying that they're, because there is that inner voice of kindness within you, because that, you didn't call in screaming and yelling. You asked in a very kind way. You had temperance. You know what I mean? You didn't beat me over the head. But but what's leading you? What's your engine in your life? This is going to have an effect. And remember that what is feeling to me is that you've had some loss and some pain. And a lot of times what happens is we get very guarded. So if you can kind of be guarded like a porcupine, there's ways of guarding yourself, right? There's, if you look at animals, the way a cat guards itself is it has claws and things, and it comes out when it needs to. Porcupine, maybe not so much. They're kind of always ready. And so as you have that kind of inner child and that inner self-hurt, without necessarily the skills to get through it in some sort of constructive way, you get more prickly, and it's just easier to be a little bit more defensive. Now, Wayne Dyer, if there's anything Wayne really, really kind of fostered in his teachings was vulnerability. And I would not be surprised if that's one of the reasons why he gets on your nerves, because he, all that stuff he's talking about requires a certain level of letting the guard down and allowing yourself to be vulnerable to these concepts. And when you do that, then especially if you've been hurt or you've been put up against, you're up against it and you've been disappointed, or you've done some of these manifesting things and they just fall apart and don't work, there's a little inner child that's saying, I'm really sad. I've been hurt, I've been kicked around, I've been betrayed, I've been abandoned, I've been, disappointed. And that inner adult, comes in and says, okay, look, we're not dealing with any of these quacks. That person got it, I didn't. I hate her. And I don't want to hear what Wayne has to say. It's legit. It's life. It's legit. It's legit. And don't let anybody tell you that we don't all have those feelings. Now, is it working for you is the question.
No.
Ding, 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 ding. So, are you willing to consider a different way?
Yes.
Now, how efficient is your life? And this is something I was talking about this to one of my coaching clients. What we're looking for, and this is for everybody on the show. What we are looking for is efficiency in all of this. Okay? We're not looking for, and now as an author, let me just tell you, as an author, a publisher will say, like when I got my agent, she says, well, how many words do you have for your book? I said, 25,000. It's done. She goes, no, it's not. We need 55. Like, I'm not going to sell it unless you give me 55,000 words. I said, are you kidding me? I was over at 25,000. No, we need 55,000 words. So that means you got to create a process. And every spiritual leader, we're all up against it. We all have to create a process. We might be done with the conversation after 30,000 words, but we have to create 50. Now, not that there aren't 50,000 really good words, and that when we think about it deeper and we meditate on it more, we don't get a more robust version. But sometimes what happens is people get overwhelmed because they think, if I don't do this whole process and this and that manifesting and this process, walk the beach at 3 o'clock in the morning like Wayne and write by hand and all this other stuff, I'm not going to be enlightened. And that's not true. Okay? So what I'm asking you is to ask yourself some questions. I'm not going to give you answers right now. I want you to explore this. You can call back in, on another day or, have a reading or whatever. But I want you to, if you ask yourself the question, is this working for me, this resistance? Because the resistance, a lot of times, if you're used to it, feels easier than actually taking the unbeaten path of non-resistance, of least resistance. But you're being inefficient with your energy because it takes a lot of energy to be pissed off, angry, envious, and all those other things you were saying.
Yeah.
Right? So then that's why you're tired, and it feeds. It's a self-feeding kind of cannibalization of you.
Yeah.
Right? So those 3 basic things that I said, if you do those, you're going to be like 50% ahead of where you were. And that's fine. Being willing to hear that inner voice of kindness. Now, that inner voice of kindness sometimes will will come in as negative. And that's what I want you to hear. It's like if you had a child who's laid out on the floor, with a sprained ankle, are you going to tell that kid, okay, honey, get up and run with the track team? No. You're not going to have an expectation for her to exert herself in that way. If her ankle is sprained, you're going to nurture that sprain. You're going to wrap it. You're going to watch the inflammation. You're going to take it to the doctor, get x-rays, MRIs, whatever. You're going to give her Tylenol or, soak it or whatever and a lot of TLC. Maybe even make a pot of chicken soup and give her some coloring books. But you're not going to send her in a marathon or make a run. That inner voice of, I hate Wayne Dyer, if you're hurting as much as that senses in your field, Wayne is asking you to step up and be vulnerable and go out there and run the marathon. So that inner voice of kindness could have been saying, hey, listen, you know what, you're not there yet. You're hurting. those chemicals are too big for you right now. And we just need to self-protect. It's like, the water, the swelling around the wound. That swelling really doesn't help other parts of your body, but it is helping that wound be cushioned so that those white blood cells can, help to heal, right? So what I want you to think about is stop the madness of your self-cannibalization. Okay, so if I'm talking to the version of you that's kind of the inner critic judge and the one who won't let you get forward, I'm beating that one down and saying knock it off. But I also am honoring that you're this way for a reason. And that also needs expression. And when you're that protective, you're closer to self-love than you think. Okay? Wayne may not be your guy. There's plenty of other ones out there. But what's important is that you're calling into this show and saying, there's that inner voice of kindness saying, call and at least just express. Because what you really need is permission to say, all right, it's okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like I still don't know how to do it, but it does. I'm going to listen to this again. Yes, it does make sense.
So the how-to for you is you need to get a journal. And you need to start giving each version of you expression. So I just gave this to one of my clients the other day as an exercise. I'll give it to you guys. A really great way to start to break through, to hear this inner voice, to recognize this inner voice, is to literally start keeping a list of the cast of characters of voice that you hear in your head. Start to analyze your thoughts a little bit. Now, you're not going to make yourself crazy with this forever. What we're trying to do is get you to see the different beings that are working in you. Okay? Like, the real Jody is probably somewhere in the trunk, and there's a whole lot of beings driving Jody's car. So Jody was the one who kind of got out of the trunk and called into the show. Said, they're choking me over here, And Mari said, okay, all you idiots at the front of the car, you need to back off because Jody's now out of the trunk. So the way that you help yourself is taking a journal, and I want you to start or just keep a list in your purse or on your iPhone or whatever, and just say, I just heard this thought. That sounds interesting. Who is that? Is that really me? Or is that someone else? Who does that belong to? Me or someone else? Just that identification process, you're going to start to look and search for the inner voice of kindness. And like I said, that inner voice of kindness can come in as setting boundaries and limits. Please go to the gym today. You're trying to work towards this. It could also say nurturing. Going to the gym today is kind of not a good thing. So it's not necessarily the pansy voice, the woo-woo voice. It comes in as both, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to listen to all of it. And just you giving permission to yourself to listen, which you did by making this call, you're going to see everything start to sync up. Now, I'm going to have to jump because we're already, I think this is the longest I've ever gone over on a show, but I wanted to, that was probably Wayne driving the conversation too, because but it's like, don't hate me, love me, I love you anyway. That's what he would say. I love you anyway. But I honor your candor and that you're a beautiful light and good for you. Kudos to you. I love real people. Are you from New York originally?
No, but I love New Yorkers.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's good. It's all good. So I'm going to jump off, but thank you so much for calling in, Jody. Keep us posted on how things are going for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great night. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed tonight's Aha Moments radio show. We're going to continue this conversation. Again, keep an eye on your inbox for that the 3-part free, say that 5 times fast, video training that's coming up. And we'll see you back here same time next week. Also, if you guys if you like the show, we are on iTunes now. Sam's going to kill me if I don't mention this. We're on iTunes now. Would you please leave a review of the show? That's going to really help us going forward. and we'd really love to have you there as well. All right, so I will end with my motto, which is, you truly can have exactly what you want. You absolutely deserve it too, and in this new energy, anything is possible. See you next week, everybody. Take care.